Okay, we are going to start. I'm Nancy Amadeo. I am the president of Marina in Motion. We are a local nonprofit. We do not endorse any candidates or issues that you will find on the ballot. We are here just to provide an opportunity for the public to hear from the candidates themselves on questions that have been submitted. This time, I'd like to introduce our moderator. This is Doug Yount. Can you raise your hand so that people will know? Perfect. Mr. Yount has over 38 years of experience in local land use development and municipal executive administration, serving in positions of city management, development services, redevelopment, and economic development, and a project director for major development projects. Mr. Yount attended the University of California, Santa Barbara, then received a master's in public policy from the University of Michigan, where he was awarded the Arthur Bromwich Fellowship by the Michigan Municipal League. Go Blue. Mr. Yount began his career with Deloitte as a consultant specializing in municipal finance, land use development, and organizational development. From there, Mr. Yount served in cities throughout California, in San Diego County, Alameda County, and Monterey County as a development services director, deputy city manager, and city manager. While in Marina, California, Mr. Yount led the entitlement and initial development of a significant portion of the redevelopment of the former Fort Ord. Following this public service, Mr. Yount served as a principal with Applied Development Economics, a consulting firm specializing in economic development strategies and assistance to public and private entities. Mr. Yount recently assisted the city of Salinas in an award-winning economic development strategic plan. Since 2016, Mr. Yount has been employed with Shea Homes, serving as the project director for Marina Community Partners, the entity overseeing the Dunes mixed-use master plan development, a $1.5 billion, 330-acre, award-winning mixed-use redevelopment project on the former Fort Ord. Mr. Yount has also been an adjunct instructor at CSUMB, in the College of Business, and in the Masters in Public Policy program at the Panetta Institute, where he taught for 9 years in strategic management and entrepreneurship. Mr. Yount is currently the board chair for the Habitat for Humanity Monterey Bay, former chair of the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce Board, and former chair of the board of the Monterey County United Way. He has been married over 36 years to his wife, Nicole, with 2 children, Brett, 33, and Taylor, 30. When not agonizing over development entitlements and construction schedules, Mr. Yount enjoys fishing and the piano. So thank you, Mr. Yount, and we will begin.
All right. Thank you, Nancy, for that introduction. So as your moderator this morning, thank you all, first of all, for participating, the candidates in this forum, and then also for those who may be attending or watching. It's always important to be involved in your local democratic process. Let me first introduce the candidates, and then we'll go through a bit of the rules, and then we'll select the order in which the opening statements will be given, and then go right directly into the questions. So first, there are 3 candidates here for seats in the MCWD. First is Tom Moore. If you could raise your hand, Tom, please. Dr. Tom Moore has lived in Marina since 1989 and recently retired after serving on the faculty of the U.S. Naval War College and the Naval Postgraduate School for 33 years. He is currently serving on the board of directors of Marina Coast Water District and is chairman of the board of the directors at Monterey One Water. Next candidate is Stacy Fritz Smith. Stacy, if you could raise your hand, please, is currently a resident of East Garrison, grew up in the area. She is employed owning a commercial finance company. Next is Roland Lee Soltese, a 7-year resident of Marina and a local attorney. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Let me go over the rules a little bit. This is where the 38 years comes in here. First is just to talk about the rules is there will be an introduction and a closing. You'll have 2 minutes each. Candidate will have for that. The moderator or the Zoom manager, Nancy, will be able to have the time limits and illustrate with the timing clock in there for your either 2 minutes or 1 minute. I'll explain in a moment, but it's 2 minutes for opening and closing. The selection of starting order, in a moment, I'll pull names out of a cup that determine the starting order of the of the opening statements, and then the closing statements will be the reverse of that. There will also then be, after the opening statements, be questions that I will ask that have been submitted from the public. I will ask those questions, and then you'll have 2 minutes each to respond to that question if you are the lead on that question, and then 1 minute rebuttal from the other candidates. Then we want to try to stay to those time limits as best we can. I myself or Nancy or Jeff, who is also on here as a Zoom manager, will be able to mute if for some reason the answers go particularly long. I will obviously give you time to finish your thought, your sentence, if it runs up against the time frame. But after that, please adhere to some decorum here and limit yourself to the time that's provided for each question or each question response or for the rebuttal of a minute each on each question. So with that, then there's obviously just some general things such as just general decorum, of course, and probably keep your mic muted, possibly between questions, and then also no campaigning of signs. I know these rules were sent out before, but any questions on the rules then as we go forward as the format as we move forward? Pretty straightforward, I think. Everyone's participated in these before. So let me take the names and make sure. So this says Tom. I'll put it in here. This says Roland, and I'll put it in here. And this says Stacy. I'll put it in here. And this is completely non-biased because it's Smokey the Bear in here. And I will determine who. So the first candidate that will start on opening statements is Roland. So Roland, you will begin first when we get started here. The second is Stacy. Stacy, you'll go second, and then Tom, you'll be third. And then that order will reverse when you do your closing statements. Okay, so let's begin. Nancy, if you want to pull up the timer, let's start then. Roland, you'll have 2 minutes for your opening statement, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in today. We really appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to participate in this process, and we thank Marina in Motion for putting this on. My name's Roland Soltesz. I have a long history of civic engagement. I've lived in Marina for close to a decade. I grew to love this area. I lived in the Central Valley for many, many, many years. And like many people from the Central Valley, we would come here on a regular basis. And I would come here for legal conferences all the time. I'm a practicing attorney. I have an office in downtown Monterey, and I have an office in Salinas. I've been doing that for approximately 20 years. Prior to that, I was a financial planner, senior vice president with both Wells Fargo and Bank of America in finance. I have a degree in economics from Pomona College in Claremont, California. My civic engagement over the last 40 years has been extensive in Visalia, California, where I still own property. I was a member of the Planning Commission for 6 years there. I was on various task force committees actively involved in the planning and development of a town of 120,000 people. In addition, I was on the task force that built the largest civic project in the history of Tulare County, which was the $100 million wastewater treatment plant that we installed. Part of the process of that was the planning and water use rights. We involved with water swaps, where the water was going. And all the agencies were involved in that to make sure that it was an efficient process and we made use of our water resources properly. And I apologize. Oh, there it is. I have 12 seconds. So I thank you all, and we look forward to a good forum today.
Thank you, Roland. Stacy, do you want to go next?
There's so many.
Wow.
I don't know, the music on, it was weird. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join in our group. And thank you, Marina in Motion, for organizing this platform. Some things about me that were not in my introduction. As Doug stated, I have lived now in East Garrison for about 7 years, and I have seen such a tremendous amount of growth in our area. And I'm concerned about our water, and not just the quantity of it, but quality. I have lived through droughts in the valley. Coming from a community, I was the president of the board for 13 years. I had implemented emergency water situations for our community when we were in severe drought. Raising my daughter alone as a single mom since she was 3 years old, I know the hardships that we are all going through right now, especially. And my daughter is now a nuclear engineer working on alternative energy. So I can say that she learned a lot from me, but I've also now am learning from her. As an alumni of Salinas High School, MPC, FSU, I know the industry and the history as well of our valley, because I grew up here. When water is one of our most precious resources, and I would like to preserve that for all of our future generations. I've served on many boards, including HOA boards, nonprofit organizations, which I created formats for communities on ways to conserve water, not only for a household, but also in the commercial industry as well. I've taught enology classes on how to make their wineries sustainable, and I want to bring that knowledge that I have to the Marina Coast Water District. I further work with contractors is CAL FIRE. I've afforded me the knowledge of protecting our water tanks. My career path then took me into, I'm out of time. Okay, well, thanks everybody.
So apparently there is music at the end of the timer. So, all right, thank you, Stacy. Tom? Oh, you're muted, Tom.
There we go. Thank you very much, Marina in Motion, for putting this forum together. I moved to Marina in 1989 after I took a job with the Naval Postgraduate School. As indicated, I've taught for the Naval Postgraduate School and the Naval War College for 33 years. I've taught things like joint military planning, logistics, inventory management, statistics, civil affairs planning, international humanitarian law, and other topics. I also served for 30 years as a commissioned officer in the United States Army and Army Reserve, retired as a colonel in the Engineer Corps of the Army. I was the first chair of the Marina Coast Water District Water Conservation Commission when it was formed about 1992 during a drought. I also have served on Marina Planning Commission for 6 years. I have served on the Monterey County Local Agency Formation Commission as an alternate commissioner representing special districts in the county for 2 years. I've been president for several terms in the past of the Special Districts Association of Monterey County. And of course, I've served on the board of directors of Marina Coast Water District for more than 2 decades, 14 years on the board of directors of Monterey One Water, and currently am completing my 2nd year as chair of that organization. I was here with Marina Coast when we built the very first desalination plant ever built by a government agency on the Central California coast, a small plant, and we are possibly going to be re-energizing, rebuilding that to more modern standards going forward at some point in the not too distant future. So that's a bit on my background. Thank you very much again, Marina in Motion, for organizing this. And of course, anyone online, I certainly hope that you will vote for me during the upcoming election. Thank you.
All right. That is interesting music. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll start then the questions and answers. And again, the format is that I will ask a question, and we'll start with the order that was provided in the drawing, and then rotate that as we go along for each new question. Every candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question. If you're the or 2 minutes to answer the question, and then you'll have a minute of rebuttal. Is that correct, Nancy? That works. Each candidate has 2 minutes to answer the question, and then each candidate has a 1 minute rebuttal, correct? Okay, so make sure we had that correct. So the order that we drew before, Roland, this will starting with you, but the others will answer this question as well. What do you see as the primary duties of a member of the board of directors of Marina Coast Water District?
Thank you. That's a really good question, because I think it's one that sometimes people don't really understand. The board of directors of Marina Coast Water District is basically the eyes and the ears of the ratepayers and the citizens of the district. We act in your place to ask the questions of the professional people that we've hired to run our district. We're involved in budgeting, planning, growth. It's an oversight position. But a board of directors has to have a vision for what they want the community to look like, a vision for what they want the district to look like. And we set that tone. And then it's up to the professional people that run the district on a day-to-day basis to implement our vision. They bring back what they've done to us, and we overview that. It's also important. Number one function is really budgeting. A director of the district is going to look at the budget and make sure that we're on budget, we're on track, because we need to treat the money that we have as your money, because realistically, it is your money. We're the stewards of the finances for the district. So above all and above everything else, we're financial managers. We set the tone, the district. Then secondary after that, we have to be advocates for proper growth, for resource management, for all the other things that come secondary. But as a group of a board, we establish a vision, our priorities. Priority number one is fiscal responsibility. It has to be. That's what we're there for. Priority number two is to make sure that our professional management team and our employees are implementing our vision and maintaining proper budgetary action. And number three is we're advocates for the environment. We're advocates for water resource management.
Okay, thank you. Stacy, want to answer the question? Do you want me to repeat the question, or do you?
No, I remember it. Thank you.
Okay.
So I concur with much of what Roland stated. The job of our board of director is also working with management at Marina Coast Water District. We need to seek alternative sources for water. We need to listen to the community. We need to understand what is going on at all times. Outreach is hugely important, I feel, to a board, being transparent, having integrity to uphold everything that is in our duty to perform. We need to bring a fresh approach to our communities, everybody that's receiving water from Marina Coast Water District. Putting that in motion where we are consistently keeping up with technology. I feel that's greatly important for a board to be educated as you go, because obviously, weather changes. We're in crazy changing times. Economically, people are hurting. I feel as a board member, a board of directors, I want to hear the community. I listen to what people tell me, and I want to help, with that. If the community has ideas, bring it to the board, let them, tell us what they're feeling, tell us what they need. And as far as, if they're concerned about their water. So I feel you're not only upholding your board of directors position, but you're also reaching out to the community more and caring about what they feel, what they need. And again, innovation, research, keeping up with technology.
Okay, thank you. All right. Tom, what do you see are the primary duties of a member of the board of directors of Marina Coast Water District? You're muted, Tom. Sorry.
I just unmuted myself. Lovely technology. At any rate, thank you. There's quite a few duties. One of the primary ones is the hiring of the general manager. There's only 2 employees that the board of directors have a say over the hiring of. That's the general manager and district council. But amongst other things, things like budgeting and finance have been mentioned. We have to do the rate setting process. And as part of that process, one of the more difficult decisions the board has to struggle with is to decide how much money to borrow to pay for future capital investment versus how much money to save now. Borrowing kicks the can down the road to future generations to pay for that. On the other hand, collecting for reserves now puts the burden on current ratepayers for future beneficial infrastructure. We also have duties as a groundwater support agency, and those are fairly important duties with respect to the fact that we get most of our water from the Salinas Valley groundwater basin, parts of which are badly seawater intruded. Fortunately, not too close to our parts, but nonetheless, we have to work with the Salinas Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency to try and fix these problems going forward so it doesn't harm us. We have to approve the capital investment program of Marina Coast Water District, which means we have to decide how soon to replace aging infrastructure or how long to leave it in place in order to save our ratepayers some money. And then there's a whole slew of laws that we have to comply with over time. California Environmental Quality Act, California Coastal Act, since we're near the coast and some of our projects require approval by the California Coastal Commission. There's a whole slew of state and federal water quality laws with which we must comply and annually report to our ratepayers the results of all the testing that we have to periodically do of our water. We've got to comply with the California Water Code that applies to a county water resources agency, which is exactly the type of special district that Marina Coast is. When we build things, we have to comply with state, local building codes. Board members have to comply with the Brown Act. Board members have to comply with the requirement for ethics training and sexual harassment training. There's laws that involve the campaigns that we're involved in right now that we have to comply with. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the California Health and Safety Code. Point is, we do an essential job for our folks, and it's a complex one. At any rate, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Now we'll go to 1-minute rebuttal if you choose to, or a 1-minute additional statement from each candidate on this question of what are the primary duties of the member of the board
Doug,
of
may I
directors.
interrupt a moment?
Please.
Someone else may have noticed, but I had inadvertently paused the timer with Tom. And when I recognized it, I set it for a minute. He may have gotten less, he may have gotten more, and I just want to apologize to both Tom and the other candidates. I don't know how I did it. So
Right.
if you can go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Oh, like exactly 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but
yeah, like 2 minutes. Thank you, Nancy. All right, moving then staying on this question for rebuttal in the same order. Roland, then, if you wish to have a minute rebuttal or a minute further discussion.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to thank Tom for his comments. He absolutely laid out all the different legislation that we have to follow, the guidelines that we have to follow, CEQA Act. It's just a maze of organizations in California. Now, we're not the ones that put all this stuff in place, but we're the ones that have to follow it. And it takes serious people that are dedicated, that have the knowledge, the training, the experience, and the background to follow these. I believe Tom is one of those people, so hats off to you, Tom. But I also believe that that is a primary duty of the board, to follow this. Budgetary restraint, fiscal responsibility. Once again, we have to look at it. There is a fundamental tension between future growth and current ratepayers, what they're doing. I think Tom laid that out very eloquently. How much do we charge the current people for the future growth and put it aside? We're seeing that in our fire, in our Measure U in Marina as well, with the bond. And I think that's why we go back to, what is the vision? Do we have the vision, and we follow our vision, set the tone?
Thank you, Roland. Okay, Stacy, Pansy gets it. 1 minute, please.
Yeah, so there's many rules, obviously, you have to follow when you're on any board, no matter if it's a water board or a homeowners association board. That's a given. There's got to be some common sense when you're on a board. I also agree with Roland on, you need to know what you're doing. I have 27 years of background in finance, budgeting, contract negotiations. So I think that as a board collectively, it's not just one person on the board. So when you're a board of directors, there's 5, and you all have something to contribute. If you only have, this one thing to contribute, then where does that go for the entire, district? So for me, I feel that not only do you have to follow all the regular state laws, guidelines, but you also need to be able to contribute something of your own knowledge and your background and your experience.
Great, thank you. Okay, Tom, 1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much. So it's understandable and very easy for our ratepayers to get a bill from us once a month, and go and flush their toilet, run their washing machine, and so forth. It's actually pretty amazing what primarily the staff does for Marina Coast Water District to keep a very complex set of infrastructures operating so that our ratepayers always, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, can get safe potable water out of their faucets or wherever they need it, and that the wastewater they generate is safely taken away. There's a huge health and safety component to what we do, running this very complicated infrastructure. So with respect to the question about duties of directors, it's a complicated set of duties that we have to perform.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move now to the next question, and this question the lead will be Stacy, then Tom, then Roland. This question is, what are your top 3 priorities for the Marina Coast Water District? And please elaborate on that. Your top 3 priorities for the the Marina Coast Water District. So let's start first then with you, Stacy, for 2 minutes each, and then there will be a time for a minute after.
Okay. So my top 3 priorities are 1, to have the board and Marina Coast Water District be much more transparent. People are upset, obviously, that their rates are going up. I feel that if there's more education involved with our communities, that people will have a little bit more understanding, and there won't be this negative, negativity out there for the water district. I really want to enforce education for the youth on how our water, comes from the faucet. It doesn't just drop out of the sky and you turn the faucet on and it's there. So I feel that educating youth is extremely important. There's so many things that we could do to do that, working with HOAs. I am in an HOA now, and there's quite a few in the water district. Working with those boards, having events, things like that. I also would love for us to be able to have a lot more sustainability. I just got back actually from a water equipment show in Florida, one of the biggest in the world. And there's so much more innovation that we could be offering to our communities, especially the water district. I don't feel that the water district needs to take on all the recycling. I feel that some of the home builders should be as well. There's equipment in place that you could have a unit in your home that literally recycles your gray water. I feel, excuse me, I feel that that is probably one of the biggest things for me, is getting more innovation, keeping things moving, keeping up with the times, and being fiscally responsible in the same realm.
Great, thank you. All right, Tom, same question then. What are your top 3 priorities for the Marina Coast Water District?
So priority number 1 is to maintain the reliability and maintain our good 60+ year record of being able to provide water 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, reliably, not having any spills of wastewater. And we have to ensure that the board authorizes a budget and authorizes hiring practices that get good people with the right qualifications to maintain and operate this system. Our O&M folks all carry various types of certifications required by the state of California, so that they can safely not only operate the system safely from the perspective of our ratepayers, but also safely from the perspective of our workers. Secondly, a priority is water supply planning. We have been over many years looking at a variety of different ways to provide additional water sources. We are already providing recycled water to the Bandit and Black Horse golf courses, and we have the ability to provide more recycled water even to, for instance, Mr. Yount's Dunes subdivision, as soon as they take out the permits to take that water from us. And the third area is the groundwater sustainability area. We do have to work with our neighboring Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency so that we can make some progress as required by state law in reducing the amount of seawater intrusion that's affecting the valley writ large, mostly affecting the agricultural community. We only have a small overall part of that, but still we have responsibilities that we need to execute in that regard. So thank you. Those are my 3 main priorities.
Thank you, Tom. And then Roland, same question. What are the top 3 priorities for the Marina Coast Water District from your perspective?
Thank you. I think you're going to hear my priorities kind of go hand in hand with what I think the responsibilities of the board are. So my number 1 priority, and I think everybody's number 1 priority, as Tom said, has to be providing a safe, efficient, and adequate water supply for the ratepayers and citizens of our district. It's our fundamental duty to make sure that there's clean, safe, potable water that's available 24/7. We've seen the effects of cities when they don't have that, and it's devastating. Our economy grinds to a halt. So number 1, that's our primary responsibility. That's my primary goal, to safeguard our system, to keep up the good work that we've done for many years. My second priority is to do all of the above in a fiscally responsible manner. We don't have to go out and spend every penny we have on everything. We have to carefully budget. We have to carefully think about what our priorities are. The priorities go along with our vision. What is our vision? Is our vision to have every new house recycling? If that's the vision, then we should be moving forward to accomplish that. The vision will come from, as Stacy said, a transparent process of meetings. I do think the last rate hikes was a transparent process. However, people didn't really get involved. There were multiple public hearings on the rates. It was publicized. I saw it. I listened to some of it, but frankly, outreach is more important at this point in time. And number 3, as far as my priority, is Cal-Am is still an existential threat, okay, to us and everybody in our district. My number 3 priority is to maintain vigilance against the existential threat of Cal-Am putting a desalination plant that gives Marina all the economic harm and none of the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. And just for a disclaimer, I'm here representing myself at the request of Marina Motion. I do not represent the Dunes Project nor the Shea Companies. So I appreciate the plug, Tom, but no, thank you. I'm here by my just representing myself. Let's move on to the next question, or I'm sorry, let's continue with this question with 1 minute rebuttal for each. And in the same order, so Stacy, will start with you, please.
Sure. So just to concur with Roland on the Cal-Am situation, I do believe that that probably will be an ongoing process. I think that you know, he's correct in that we always need to have our guard up. And that's a huge huge thing there. So but again, following along the lines of making sure we're constantly up with technology, what Tom said about making sure, you know, the employees are, you know, educated on what is going on. We're coming on in you know, a La Nina year, so you know, we've been spoiled with, you know, lots of water, of course, the past 2 years, but it's a cycle, and we have to, you know, always be prepared, looking for our other resources, you know, protecting our aquifer.
Great, thank you. Okay, Tom, do you want to?
Yes, thank you very much. Roland did mention an important priority, which is Cal-Am. I didn't happen to mention that, but I will point out that just last Friday, Cal-Am spent several thousands of dollars asking one of its LA law firms to write a 8-page technical letter urging the board of directors of Monterey One Water to remove me as chair. Apparently, I've been too effective in opposing their current proposed desalination project. I want to make clear, too, that I don't oppose a Cal-Am overall desal project. If they want to build that in Carmel or Monterey, fine, have at it. If they want to readjust the current project and move their slant wells 5 miles north, due west of Castroville, good on them. But as currently configured, it is absolutely unacceptable for us at Marina Coast Water District and our ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And Roland, you want a minute to respond as well?
Yes, thank you, Tom, for following up with that. It's an existential threat. We cannot drop our vigilance on that, because what people don't understand is when Cal-Am invests money in infrastructure, they make more money. They're not a normal utility like most. If their expenses go up, their shareholders' profits go up. So they have an incentive to invest hundreds of millions of dollars, whether it's effective or not. And it takes the money out of our pockets. It takes the future safety out of our families' lives, my grandchildren's lives, and your grandchildren's lives. As far as innovation and water conservation, that's definitely a priority. Anybody that's in your house, walk outside. There's purple pipes all over the place. The dunes is littered with them. I shouldn't say littered, but they're all over the place. Those are all for recycled water. There's been planning in place for years. Hats off to the people that put that in place. We can connect it almost immediately.
Thank you, Tom. Excuse me, Roland. All right, the next question then, our third question here is, what are the top challenges for the Marina Coast Water District that may threaten its success? And please elaborate in your response. And this will start first with Tom, and then to Roland, then to Stacy. What are the top challenges for the Marina Coast Water District that may affect its success? Tom?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we've just talked about one, which is CalAM's threats, and a very clever information war trying to make inroads into our service area and make us look not very competent. Secondly, seawater intrusion is certainly a challenge. And even if the hydrogeology, which we have studied through aerial electromagnetic surveys, in fact, we were the first agency in Monterey County to use that new technology to get a more detailed picture of the groundwater basins beneath us. Even if we're a little safer than, say, Castroville is from seawater intrusion, we still have got to meet the year 2040 requirements from the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act to deal with this seawater intrusion problem. We are talking about various projects. We've already engaged in particular in two of them. One is to reconfigure our desalination plant, which would take a bit of load off of groundwater, not a large load. We're already selling more than 300 acre-feet of recycled water to Bayonet and Black Horse, which again is taking that load off of groundwater. We are working on a project that will do something similar with the strawberry growers on the Armstrong Ranch going forward so that they use less water from the deep aquifer. So those are probably two of the biggest challenges, but back to maintaining our system appropriately with the reliability that it has had in the past, that is a constant ongoing challenge that we must always remain vigilant to succeed at. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Roland? Same question.
Yes. So part of the challenge is, as I've talked about, vivid vision, our mission statement, is effectively instituting what our mission statement is. Our mission is safe, clean, affordable water in a fiscally responsible way. The biggest challenge is doing that. We have to maintain our guard to do that. We have infrastructure. I don't know if everybody realizes that when the military built all this stuff up for World War II, what they were looking at was quick and get it done. Okay, we have a mismatch of pipe structures that we've inherited. So the biggest problem we have now is with all this growth in South Marina is how to update this infrastructure that dates back to World War II that sometimes doesn't even make sense. It made sense at the time because they were trying to do it. We were fighting a war and we were doing our best. But this infrastructure is dated. It's a miracle that it still exists in the form and that it's working today. My hat's off to the engineers in World War II. They got it done quick, efficiently, and cheaply, in my opinion, and it still works today. But the biggest challenge I think we have is updating our antiquated systems in a fiscally prudent way to safeguard our future water supply, to make sure it's safe, efficient, and reliable, that we can continue to deliver that water in a fiscally responsible manner. And that goes along with water resource management, all of the resources we have, how to manage that effectively. If we don't stay vigilant, we can take our eye off the ball, and before you know it, we're overusing our water supply, we're overdrafting, and we get in a situation that maybe Carmel's in, or some of these other areas around here, or Watsonville. We've done a remarkable job in this area over the years of guarding our water supply. We need to maintain that vigilance.
Thank you. Okay, Stacy? What do you see are the challenges for the Marina Coast Water District?
You had muted me, so thank you. I got to unmute myself. Yes, there are some challenges. As Tom had stated, the salt water that is encroaching into our basins. I actually finance that electromagnetic mapping equipment for farmers, so I know all about that equipment. I've studied it, been to trade shows about it. It works phenomenally. We also have to make sure that we are following what the state has implemented of creating more storage space for our water. So I feel like that would be a challenge as well. We need to make sure, I feel that we need to start recapturing more stormwater when we do have storms, building wherever it could be to do that. You know, making sure our water is safe is always going to be a challenge. You know, protecting our water tanks. I mean, we live where I'm at. I'm in a CAL FIRE district area, and our water tank is not protected. If we had a wildfire, the water that we receive in East Garrison, it's not protected. I've got CAL FIRE on it. They've been protecting tanks in San Diego, but we definitely need to have you know, people thinking about if, you know, how are we going to have water if our grid system goes down? We only have our tanks and it's gravity. So these are things I feel that are challenges in the years to come. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, 1 minute then. Further discussion or rebuttal then from each candidate, starting Tom with you.
Yes, thank you very much. So Roland mentioned old Army infrastructure, which is a challenge in a couple of different ways. We have a pump station, which is actually kind of nestled and surrounded by Sea Haven, where there are pumps that the Army put in 70 years ago. Those pumps are no longer even manufactured. We can't even purchase repair parts for those pumps. If we need a repair part for those pumps, we have to get blueprints of the part. We have to go to a specialty machine shop and have them custom made. We have just finished building a new pump station up on the CSUMB campus to replace this old pump station. There was also a tank down there. We have just completed building 2 tanks to replace those and provide better fire flows going forward. So we've got these challenges, particularly in the Ord community, and that is part of the reason why the Ord community is seeing higher rates than in Central Marina. But maybe if we get another question, I'll be able to delve into that a little bit in more detail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Roland, I believe you're next.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to reinforce that the challenge is doing all the above, finding the money to do it, staying solvent, hiring the proper people to do it. We are in one of the highest cost of living areas that can be. It's expensive to hire talent for here. And but we want the brightest and we want the best, because what are they guarding? What are we vigilant on? We're vigilant on our water supply. It's one of life's necessities. We have to be vigilant and guard at all times. It's important that we have the best people working for us, and those people don't come cheap. That's why we have to watch every penny, every dollar, update in a responsible manner. Is it better to build a new pump station or continue to build parts from scratch? That's what the board has to do. The challenge is maintaining that fiscal discipline and responsibility to do all of the above to maintain safe, clean water for our ratepayers, the services that they desire and they, more importantly, deserve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then Stacy, you have a minute to respond as well.
Sure. So again, we have challenges. We have to keep up with what the state is requiring us to do. We're required to come up with created space for storing our water. There's requirements that every water district has to meet that the state imposes on us. I feel that, you know, a huge challenge, especially for Marina, it's growing. I feel that we need to start holding builders more accountable. We have, you know, Century, we have Shea Homes, I worked with Watha Constados in Sea Haven. So I'm very familiar with their concerns about water for their, you know, people buying their homes. So these are things that I think you can talk about Fort Ord and all that and all the underground piping. That's one thing, but taking everything into the future.
Thank you. Don't suppose there's any way to turn that music off at the end, Nancy? Okay, thank you. thank you.
There-
All right.
There's no way to turn it off.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, let's move forward then onto the next question. In this order, we'll start with Roland, then Stacy, and then Tom. And this is a question. What are the primary functions or responsibilities of Marina Coast Water District versus Monterey One Water? What are the distinctions between these two agencies and their service to the residents of the district of Marina Coast Water District? Roland, starting with you for 2 minutes, and then again Stacy, and then Tom.
So it's important to note that Monterey One Water is a separate district, separate service area from what we do here in Marina. Marina is mostly concerned with the delivery of the safe water, doing it in a prudent, safe, and appropriate manner. Monterey One Water is more involved in what we do after the water, the recycling of the water, the wastewater, bringing it back into the services. It's important that we interact with the two agencies because they go hand in hand. We're not involved in the recycling of the water here. We're not involved with putting it back, but we have another agency that's involved with that, with Monterey One Water, with the pure water, with the recycling districts. Tom is involved with that. You heard he's on the board of Monterey One Water. So it's important that we interact properly. But they have two different essential functions. We're in the delivery of water. We're in the delivery of safe, clean, and approved water. We're in the business of maintaining appropriate supplies, resource management. Part of the resource management task is ensuring future water supplies. When we ensure the future water supply, that's where Monterey One Water comes in and helping to make sure that we have an adequate supply in the future, that we're planning for that, that we're implementing our vision. I'm going to go back to vision again, because what is our vision? Our vision is to have safe, clean, affordable water. There's a lot of ways to do it. We bring water from the ground. We recycle water. We implement water policies. When we're doing all of the above effectively, then we're going to have a good, self-clean, fiscally prudent district. It's expensive sometimes to recycle water, but we have to do it. And we have to do it in a fiscally prudent manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Okay, same question then to you, Stacy. What are the primary functions of the Marina Coast Water District versus Monterey One Water, and its distinctions between the two?
Sure. So Marina Coast Water District and Marina One Water do have a relationship in the wastewater collection and then treatment. So as Roland stated, Marina Coast Water District services many different areas, not just City of Marina. There's wastewater treatment that goes hand in hand with that. So we have a shared responsibility in between the city of, Marina, Sea Haven, Dunes, all of the areas that we service as far as sending water out, like Roland stated, but we have a shared responsibility in working with Marina One Water for the recycling part of it. They're recycling the water. So it's a representation of both, and Tom is on that board. So that's obviously great because we can work together with the two agencies. It's just an important part of the process. So I don't really have much more than that.
Thank you. Then question to you, Tom.
All right,
2 minutes,
thank you very
please.
much. So you can imagine the possibility if something happened to our potable water supply that you as a ratepayer could be told, you're not going to have any water for 3 days, right? Would you survive? Yes, you probably would. Can't take a shower for 3 days, going to have to get bottled water, whatever, but you could survive for 3 days. What if we told you you may not put any wastewater into our system for 3 days? You may not flush a toilet, you may not run a dishwasher. That would be a major, major problem. So our part ownership And our seat on the board of directors of Monterey One Water is pretty darn important because although we collect the wastewater and deliver it to their force main along the coast, if they shut down for any reason, we've all got a problem. Matter of fact, 270,000 people would have a problem. So that board has an even larger responsibility in terms of population served. That board also has a lot more complicated politics because the membership of that board includes representatives from the city of Salinas all the way over to Pacific Grove. That board's political viewpoint crosses from the hospitality industry to the agricultural industry. And you can imagine some of the interesting debates that occur on that board. So they do the important recycling, both for irrigation for the Castroville area agricultural growers, and also, I'm sure you're well aware of Pure Water Monterey now providing water under contract to Cal-Am from Monterey One Water. So it's how shall I say, a somewhat complicated relationship. Their technologies are in some ways, particularly with Pure Water Monterey and advanced treatment, much more complicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, 1 minute additional discussion on that. Roland?
I really don't have
First.
further comments on that subject, other than the fact that it's an important function that we need to be a part of.
Thank you. Stacy?
Sure. So Tom completely reiterated my point of why we need education. If we do not have the ability to have water, say for 3 days, or flush your toilets, I think that it goes hand in hand working with Marina One Water to educate our community on what you do in those situations. I've taught youth about how to make non-drinkable water drinkable. I think that it's a huge important part of working together with Marina One Water to let the community know who wants to panic. Like Tom said, we can't flush our toilet, we can't drink our water. There's a lot of innovation that needs to work together on that. So thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Tom, 1 minute.
Yes,
additional
thank you very
discussion.
much. And just in the interest of, as Stacy has mentioned, we want to be clear about communication. Marina Coast Water District has never, ever in its 60 plus years of existence told its customers that they need to stop putting wastewater into our collection system for 3 days. I'm sure there've been a few construction related instances where perhaps folks were told, don't put wastewater for 6 hours into our wastewater collection system. That, of course, has to happen in conjunction with construction. So that's basically all my rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that kind of concludes our questions, given the time frame we have here. So we have time then remaining until 10:30 for closing statements. Those are 2 minutes each, and the order of closing statements is a reverse of the start of the opening. So it'll be Tom, Stacy, and Roland. So Tom, do you want to provide your closing statement, please? Oh, Tom, you're muted. Nancy, if you can make sure he has the time there.
I think we're crossing mute buttons. Thank you very much for putting this forum together. I think, at least I hope we've demonstrated that we want to have qualified members of the board of directors. Obviously, I think I'm fairly qualified to serve on that board, so I will ask for your vote if you are voting in November. If you aren't voting in November, but you're registered to vote, please get out and vote. This is a very important election, not just because of Marina Coast. And finally, I'd like to point out that I think we've made the point that there are a wide variety of areas of knowledge that a well-prepared director for the board of directors of Marina Coast, and for that matter, board of directors of Monterey One Water, need to be knowledgeable in and have expertise in. Certainly, this is not the sort of position that I would ever recommend anyone run for as a starter position in public office. There would be better places like Planning Commission or Public Works Commission or Parks and Recreation where you could cut your teeth on some of these areas of expertise that would be good starting points. So anyway, I certainly urge the public to take a look at our respective experience and qualifications and make your choices as to who you believe is best prepared to serve on the board of directors of Marina Coast Water District. And I certainly hope I'll get your vote. Though I'm no politician and I hate asking for that. I hate asking for money. I'm not asking for any because trying to keep expenses low this time. But anyway, thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you very much to Marina in Motion for putting this forum together.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, your closing statement, Stacy?
Sure, thank you. I am running for this position because I bring with me a vast amount of experience in not only water knowledge, but the equipment that goes into infrastructure, as well as working with commercial construction companies, real estate, builders. I have many years experience on serving on boards, so this isn't my first rodeo at this. I get that people do need to be experienced, and I think everybody has that. On this board currently, everybody brings in their own experience and knowledge. So you don't have to have 5 people that are all attorneys. You don't have to have 5 people that are all construction workers. You do have to have people that have good people skills. You have to have people that can talk to the community. You can't just sit back behind a closed door and go to a board meeting and then never get out and talk to the community about what's going on. I think that transparency is hugely important, and you don't have to be a rocket science to be transparent. I want to see our waters, stay the way that it should be, the way that God intended it to be, pure, drinkable, and enough to go around. That's also affordable. I mean, people are hurting, and I want to be on this board not only to help the current board members with projects that they have going on, but add in my skills that I can benefit to the board for the Marina Coast Water District. And I hope that everybody will vote for me because I do bring a little bit of innovation and youth to this board for our community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Stacy. Okay, Roland, your closing statement, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank fellow candidates for your frank and honest opinions and your courtesy today. It's important to the ratepayers and citizens of our district that we effectively communicate, and I appreciate everybody saying that. Tom is correct. This is an important job. It's a job for serious people doing serious work. It's a job that you need to be experienced for. I believe I have the experience and temperament to do it. Been a practicing courtroom litigator for 20 years. You can talk to any other attorney, all of my opponents, and they'll tell you Roland's got the skills necessary to do this job. He's an effective communicator and he's an effective litigator. I also have the civic background. I've done multiple trainings with the Institutes of Local Government. I've been involved in development. I've been involved in planning commissions for multiple years. I've been involved in updates of general plans, water uses, different agriculture uses, how to balance all of these different interests. My training in economics and finance and 20 years working in the finance industry gives me the ability to look at all these documents, the plan, to go for the future. I have the planning, the training, the experience for this job. And I'm humbly asking everybody that's watching this and listening to think about that background and experience when you're making the decision. Who do you want to safeguard your water supply? It's a 24/7 water supply, as Tom said, and as Stacy said. We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for it. We need to protect from the existential threat. I'm a fighter. I'm never going to give up against Cal-Am. We're going to fight, and that's not going to happen. And I thank you for your vote in advance. Go out, vote, and thank you.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Tom, and thank you for your participation. Nancy, I will return this to Nancy, to the organizer here, and Marina in motion. Thank you, Nancy.
And I just want to thank all of the candidates for their participation today. You're doing a true public service by answering questions submitted by the public that they're interested in. And I'm very impressed with the quality of our candidates, and I encourage everyone to get out and vote for those that you feel will do the best job for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the public, I will let you know that you can, the public can stay on. Our participants, we're all going to leave for about 25 minutes, and then we'll start the next forum.
Nancy, have you stopped the recording?
No, I haven't. Wait a minute. Pause.